we're going to focus, like I said, on Socratic Seminar. And it's really ironic that she asked me to do it on this. I actually chose this because one whole day was on Socratic Seminar while I was there. And you think, at first I was resisting because I said, well, I'm Spanish 1, Spanish 2 teacher. Now that I have the World Cultures class with Bettina, I'll be able to use this a lot. It allows students the time to think of things for a deeper understanding rather than just filling their heads with right answers. I mean, we all want to just tell them this is what's right, but sometimes that's not the objective. What is a Socratic Seminar? Like I said, it's a controlled setting where students are able to think for themselves rather than filling their heads with right answers. In a Socratic Seminar, the students seek deeper understanding of complex ideas through rigorously thoughtful dialogue. Okay? At this time, you guys lined up actually perfect for me, so I want you 9 to come and sit in one of the chairs in the inner circle. Go ahead and get up. Okay? Come and sit. These 9, okay, you're going to sit in one of the outer circles. Bring the handout that you grabbed at the door, and then the article. So basically the whole thing. Okay. And my coffee and a pen. And your coffee. There's one chair over there.
No, I'm here. No, I think behind you. I got your back.
Come on, like coffee. Just, do you have the rules?
Oh, we're going to go over this.
Salted like.
There's one more
Yep.
chair over there. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, so this Socratic Seminar, there's different variations of it. This one here is known as inner circle, outer circle. This is the inner circle. Okay, I'll go over the rules before I begin to facilitate this. Rules of the Socratic Seminar. Only the inner circle may speak to others in the circle. If you are in the inner circle and share an idea, 2 people must speak before you are allowed to share again. So this, obviously, you can't share twice in a row, okay? Or you share and then someone else shares and then you go again. It gives everyone the opportunity to share out loud. The people on the inner circle are known as the pilots. Outer circle, you are the co-pilot. Okay, right now what I need the co-pilots to do, you're going to fill out that sheet that you grabbed at the entrance, okay, and you're going to fill it out. Ask your your pilot for their name, fill it out, and you're going to be assessing how much they speak. There's specific directions on there if they refer to the text and whatnot. The facilitator of the seminar, that's me and Kim, we may interject at any time. Remember, this is a discussion, so it's not a debate. We're not going to be attacking anyone. You're just talking amongst the group. And it's important to set these ground rules when you do a seminar because other kids, kids will point at each other and maybe even get up and argue. So you want to make sure that your rules are clear. Okay, so rules are done. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pose a question to the inner circle, okay, to my pilots, and you're going to go ahead and talk. Speak freely. The focus is not on me, okay? My co-pilots, you are assessing them and filling out your handout, which I will collect at the end. Okay, inner circle. Talk about the pros of cameras in the classroom. Think about pros for the students, pros for the parents, and maybe pros for teachers. What are the pros of putting cameras in every single classroom in a public school?
I think one pro is definitely that the kids would know that they're being filmed and watched, possibly by their parents, and maybe behavior would.
I go for the teachers also. Might make you watch a little bit. For me.
If they can play it back, then we give them an opportunity to review the lesson.
For the parents, it allows them a chance to actually see how their child is reacting or participating in the classroom.
I think it also gives the parents a tool to kind of help their kids if they're seeing what's going on in the classroom, go home and kind of share, have those conversations and find out how they can help.
And going back to what you said, they can go back and review things that they might have missed if they were involved in another activity.
if you guys could just try and maybe refer to the text a little bit, maybe call out the paragraph where maybe this evidence is coming from, if you highlighted it, or if you think that a good idea comes from there.
Potentially, it can make a lot of money. Talks about that, they've already raised $5 billion to put cameras in, but charging, say, $10.75 per show. That's a lot of money for schools.
I think it will cut down a lot of miscommunication between teachers and parents as well. So, paragraph 5 says, you know, you don't really know what your kid's doing at school. You know, it could be running organized crime. That's down a lot of what you're doing at school.
Well, I'm curious though if it's like live streaming or if you can actually like go back and watch these, because like in paragraph 8, where they're arguing over which one to watch, you can go back and see both. But if it's live streaming, then that limits the audience to just stay with their parents.
It would give administrators the opportunity to record things, so we'd have proof and evidence, right? As we were just talking about, if it was recorded, that would be.
You want to talk negatives? Could be a little negative, like you said.
Oh, not yet.
Not negative.
We'll wrap that up. Obviously, as the facilitator, you know your text. You know, I know the text really well. You guys have talked about some issues. We've only given a certain amount of time. So what I want to do right now is, if you're a pilot, okay, you're going to go to the co-pilot seat. If you are a co-pilot, you're going to go into the pilot seat. And now, my new co-pilots, you need to fill out the form.
That's right.
Do you want
The new pilots to fill out the bottom now, or?
I'll give you some time.
Okay.
I'll give you some time. Okay, so refer to the text as much as possible, pilots, in the inner circle. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the cons of having cameras in every single public classroom. Inner circle, go ahead.
I think based on the way kids manipulate their iPhones, it's terrifying to think about what scenario they might create and maybe egg on the teacher when they know there are cameras filming.
I would say that, you know, we also have an issue with bullying, and if they are going to see live or even pre-recorded film of their classmates, and a classmate makes a mistake, I mean, they could be teased for that, bullied for that later on the next day, and it just kind of carries with them.
I'm building on that. You see in the cafeteria cam or the playground cam. You're going to see a lot of things you probably don't want to see. Could be a bad thing. Could be like embarrassing, bullying, a little bit.
My favorite line in here is how it says, put the cameras in the kids' home and on the streets as they walk, because a lot of the problems start there. So is it here, or should the cameras be put at their house, as it talks about in paragraph 14?
I think that just knowing people in general, that if all these cameras are going and knowing how kids are with their own self-esteem issues, are you going to, you know, stop them from being creative, from being outgoing and saying what they're thinking, or taking that risk of, like in a situation here where I'm taking the risk of saying my idea? Am I not going to do that because I'm afraid that I'm being taped and then I'm going to look stupid later and I'm going to be bullied or teased for it? So are you going to actually hinder, you know, students pushing themselves or being their best because of that fear of being criticized or judged?
And to piggyback on that, I think it wouldn't just be fellow students, it could be fellow parents. So if you think your child has a certain relationship with a student and you see something going on, I know we've had parents here before at Whitney that have tried to interject themselves into situations that we may have wanted to handle in the classroom or on the volleyball court or whatnot, and then now they're in the middle of it. Or even as a student, the same thing, you answer something in class and maybe it's wrong or whatever, and your parent critiques you when you get home about your performance in class, or I didn't see you do something. So you're not as outgoing or engaged in the classroom as you normally would be.
I think it puts extra pressure on the teacher. I think teaching is already a hard job, and
you're under the lens all the time, and people are going to hopefully like what they see, but they're also going to, maybe decide or whatever. So to me, it would be an extra hardship on the teacher, especially as a new teacher. That,
Well, absolutely, and we're all here learning new teaching strategies, but I feel like for myself, and I know, pose a question to the group, would you be more or less willing to try new strategies, to try something outside of the box in the classroom, knowing that there are parents at home who are going to look at that, and we all fail when we try new things sometimes, but you have to fail before you find that great new idea. Would you think you would be more creative with your teaching if there were cameras rolling?
I think I would like to say yes, but I think kind of what you were saying before is we're under that microscope and we get critiqued and criticized by parents so often, what they don't know what's going on, that now, well, you only called on my student once the entire class period. Why? Because you should only have your hand up once. I don't know. So I think it can be maybe kind of work both ways, but I just see it more as an issue that parents now have that they think that right, well, I know what's going on in the class, therefore I can interject myself more into.
Nicole brought up that, will the tapes, will be live or will there be tapes? And I think one of the challenges that if it's just live, you could change the channel and have this new teaching strategy being shown, have it taken completely out of context. We've seen in the media where you say one line and they tweak it, and now all of a sudden you look like this horrible person. And I think that would be part of the problem with trying these new strategies, where because often they can be taken out of context, because maybe someone just pops on for 5 minutes, watches you, and they're like, what are you doing? And then all of a sudden they have this problem where they don't understand the true context of what you're trying to do.
And to piggyback on that, special education, the privacy laws, and having, let's go to Mr. S.'s study skills classroom. Oh, that person's, you kind of, that opens up. Right there. Exactly.
Well, I think, I was just reading in the news, the celebrities that are going to Sacramento to try to get the paparazzi to leave their kids alone. And I think, obviously, in paragraph 8, you have mom saying, are you crazy? They're about to shove each other and then they're going to get kissed on. Now you have all of that going on where these kids are under a microscope, and it's kind of like, well, we have celebrities that are already being followed by paparazzi, that are being videoed, they're doing this. Are we going to learn anything from what we currently see with that? If they say it's not a good situation and they're fighting to get their kids protected, and now here we're going to go, all public schools, we're going to fund it and we're going to film everybody.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and interject. I'm going to interject. My pilots can stay, but if you can move your chairs back, my pilots, just a little bit. We're going to go ahead and have a little bit of closure. No, just a little bit. This is right here for our closing segment, okay, is known as the hot seat. Okay, my pilots, you are the only ones still allowed to speak, but my co-pilots, if no one is sitting in the hot seat, okay, you may come up, take the seat if you have something to say, okay, on the outer circle.
You're just supposed to say and then leave, right?
Yeah, you just say and then leave.
But you're not supposed to stay in.
What's that? No, you can go ahead and put that aside. Okay, the notes, you're pretty much done. It was just assessment that I will collect. So my last posing question to provide closure is, in your opinion, do you believe cameras should be put in public classrooms? Now, when somebody speaks, I would like you to, if you necessarily don't agree with what they're saying, I want you to acknowledge what they're saying. So, for example, Kevin may say, yes, I do think that they should be allowed. I would say, well, so what I'm hearing you say is they should be allowed because of this, right? Okay, thank you. I think this, and everyone just make sure we maintain respectfulness. So, should they be allowed?
I'm going to say, someone else. Oh, I have to go.
No. This is just for the officers.
I'm sorry.
This is for my co-pilot.
I'm a pilot.
Be respectful, please.
I hear what you're saying, and I'd say no. And the reason I say no is I do agree that the education system is in some ways broken and lacking, but I don't necessarily think that putting $5 billion into possibly risking the elimination of a child's innocence, not protecting their privacy, and really giving more parents ammo to nitpick creativity from both the teaching side and the pupil side is worth it. It's going to make a difference.
I agree that I'm gonna say no. What I took from the article is it sounds like it's just a way to take education and turn it into a profit, basically a business. And I think education, businesses educating the kids, and I don't see how this is really gonna help the education process. That it's basically just gonna make it like another corporate business and just all about trying to make money.
Yeah, they could put the money more to better use, like having tablets for our students in every classroom and stuff, and make it more, friendly, technology friendly and stuff.
I was gonna say, I think I hear what you're saying about how it's just gonna be another way to kind of supposedly improve the education system, but I think one of the things is they talked about in paragraph 10, where even 160 years ago it just said the ultimate outcome was blame the teachers, and I can't think of a more visual way to show the world, blame the teachers. You hear a lot about coaches, being fired at universities because of what was filmed at practices and things like that. I can only imagine what would happen if, something happened in a classroom, it would be brought on the news, things like that. And there are bad teachers, but I think that overall, it would be more of a detriment than any kind of benefit to the teachers.
Agreeing on that, I think ultimately it comes down to do it help the students. In this sense, it doesn't seem like it helps the students, it seems like it helps the parents. Maybe helps the administrators, but it doesn't really help the student. At the end of the day, they just get embarrassed or whatever else, and all the other bad repercussions we've talked about. So it doesn't help the students. By the way.
I'm just going to play devil's advocate real quick and say that yes, it would. It is a good idea. You said that education isn't a business, and I think that perhaps that is part of why education is failing in California. Is that there are plenty of businessmen, women, CEOs, CFOs who are incredibly successful and good at what they do, and so this would be an interesting way to run the education system as a business where we're focusing on the quality of the teaching that's going on, quality of the material in the room. So I would say, give it a try.
I agree with that, but the difference between business and education is in business you kind of get to choose who works for you, so you can be very successful because you have people that are successful and motivated and want to be there, whereas in education, yeah, you may get to choose teachers who want to be successful and are motivated, but the students, we don't get to choose our students.
So maybe we get to choose our teachers after 2 years.
Ooh, good point.
And I think that's where my mind is going.
Yes.
If we ran this like a business after 2 years,
So get away with tenure.
we might be able to get away from some of the, yes.
I think in the business of going.
Don't mean to interrupt you, you
That's all
still
right.
speak.
I think while the business aspect is great, ultimately we're nurturing students. They're not the finished product in the business that we hire, kind of like Kevin said. They're young, they need to be nurtured. They don't need to be like, hey, you need to do it this way, and if you don't, you're out. So I think it comes down to nurturing students in the classroom, even up through high school, even if they're almost entering the workforce, or even in the workforce.
I have always said in my health class that it would be really fun if parents could just be like a fly on the wall, because the environment we create, it would not stay the same if the parent walked in the room, if that makes sense. We wouldn't be able to do what we get to do in class. And so the idea, I think it might be kind of fun to have it secret, a little hidden camera that we use just because the kids don't know about it. And it might be interesting, right, to see what happens from it.
However, the moment that someone does find out, is that a lawsuit?
Could be.
I
We have all the kids' faces blurred. But the thing is that then the kids are still gonna know who sits in what chair. So you're not gonna stop the bullying, you can't really protect, the kids.
Okay, so that was a good closing just session right there. Obviously, you will have more questions in this and you have more time. I'll show, go ahead and if you can go back to your original seats. I think there was only one chair that I took with me, so I'll put that one back. But everyone else should be good. So before we get into the questions and questions you might have with this technique, I'll share with you just some variations of it. The hot seat, I actually had I didn't plan it. I mean, Kim and I didn't plan it, and I said, you know what, it's going to be really neat to just have that seat there and see what happens. Another way that you could get your outer circle, because I know some of you are thinking, well, how does the whole outer circle stay engaged? Obviously, filling out the little assessment helps out. But you could also, you're doing something with the Socratic Seminar. It's not just that, oh, that's it, we're done with it. You probably have them create a paper, maybe with some notes that they have from the Socratic Seminar, maybe take a stance and support it with some evidence. One thing really cool that they did at Abbott with the inner circle, outer circle, was that the co-pilots had a little Post-it. And so each teacher gave the co-pilots a Post-it, and if at some point they didn't want it, let's say there wasn't a hot seat, and they were like, ooh, they could write it down and give it to their pilot. And then their pilot could share out with them, or to the inner group, hey, this is the question that my co-pilot just posed. So it allows full participation. You as the teacher, you guys are smart ones, you know what I mean? You could say, hey, I'm giving 5 points if you put your name on the Post-it and you participate and give a Post-it to the inner circle. So you could tweak it however you'd like. That's just how, it was ran a couple different ways, but that one was impromptu, the hot seat, but I thought it'd be cool. Okay, questions?
I was just going to say, as a co-pilot on the outside, on the last part, the one thing you're supposed to really do is make sure they're listening, and so they're supposed to restate. This is what I hear what you're saying this, and we did it a little bit, but not
Yeah.
a whole
Yeah, so
lot.
we would have to
Because everyone gets their idea fixed on what they want to state, but then they're not really maybe listening completely to what the other person's saying.
You'd have to practice that. That happens.
It's not easy, yeah.
Even regular adults, that's not something that comes natural. You have to demonstrate it and practice it.
Oh, and then they also, obviously you're thinking too, well, I'm not gonna have 18 students, I'm gonna have like close to 40. Okay, what do I do then? They would have 2 co-pilots, like this. And so it'd be, inner circle of maybe 8 to 10, and then you have 2 co-pilots instead. So that's another way to tweak it a little bit. Yeah?
What's kind of the suggestion for students who won't participate?
The suggestion
Like if they're sitting as a pilot and they're just not participating in the discussion.
well, then that's where you have to dock them a little bit. I should have been taking notes, obviously, I'm taking notes. Oh, Joey, spoke, Mr. Hanks spoke, and so I'm taking notes. I'm collecting this, okay, this assessment,
You could video
and then
record
you
it.
get points.
I had classes videos before, and they ran it on the whatever. It wasn't a big deal, but it wasn't for that long either. It was like for a week.
Are there any others? Maybe on some of the strategies in the back. Philosophical chairs would be another good one for this, just because you split the class up into 2. Basically, you say if you think that they should be in class over there, or the camera should be in class over there. If you don't, you're right there. If you're kind of in the middle, you're the jury. You're right here in the middle, and you're going to try and obviously get swayed by some people. And so once again, you'd have to go over, rules, ground rules, because when we did it, I mean, there was people sometimes attacking each other. So you got to monitor that and facilitate it as best as possible. Yeah.
And Bryce, one of the ways that I've tried to get kids to talk is maybe they get a free pass the first time that they're that they're a pilot, and so that they're just observing for that comfort level. And then when they come back in the next time, then they'll speak. So it's making them feel safe. I think, again, some of the kids that don't speak, or putting those kids as the co-pilot to start with, so they're observing in that place. So a couple of those things have worked well.
And one thing with English, if we're doing an article like this, they'll have it the night before, so they'll have and then I'll give them the questions that we might be discussing. Like I'll give them 5 and they say, I'm just gonna pick one of these for your group. So prepare your answers, pick out your textual evidence. And then the group they all have different colored note cards, and when they ask a question, one of the note cards goes on the ground. When they provide a response, a note card goes on the ground. So I feel like it's supportive in that they know what they're gonna say, and then there's a little bit of peer pressure in it too, and then it's like, oh, well, I see that Tiffany still has her question card. So then the whole group is kind of waiting quietly for Tiffany to ask her question before everybody moves on. That's worked well.
I think it opened, obviously I teach Spanish 1, Spanish 2. I've thought, well, how could I do this? They know how to say, I like pizza. That's basically what they know how to say. And so, saying that in here doesn't make sense. But the problem that we're running into in world languages is that kids don't like Spanish or French. They just tell, I don't want to do this. What's it gonna help me for? So I think I could do a Socratic seminar, find an article on why it's important to learn Spanish in high school, and then present it to them and have them hash it out. And maybe if I get 2 kids that kind of go, oh, ding, ding, well, maybe I should. I'll get a job later on in life. So I think I could use it the first week anyways, and with some other things, text analysis, culture stuff.